Chad Ike's Courage Barbell. Good morning to everyone out there. Just to let you know, I'm suffering through making you a video this morning because it is morning and I am not a fucking morning person. But I like you guys. I want to keep putting out some good content for you. So despite the fact that I helped a buddy this weekend installing granite showers, so I was lifting and cutting granite, and my back is sore. I've been wanting to do this one for a little while because I've been working on it, trying to perfect it. It is a seated, banded good morning. And the reason I wanted to do this for you guys is because I see so many lifters that don't want to hinge in their squat. And then they also do not want to drive their back up out of the bottom. So instead of having an explosive squat, they end up having to grind it out. And this is a good exercise to work on that. It's a really good exercise for your low back. It helps with your bracing, finding your neutral low back, being aware of your neutral low back, and helps you find that hinged position. Actually, it's a two-parter. The second part really helps more with finding the hinge. And so there you go. That's what it is. Let me, first of all, get and show you the setup because that's kind of critical. So what we have right here is, I'll show you in a minute, but I start with the safety bar is lower than what I'm going to need it to be, and that way we can pull on the hooks, put it in place, and get it back in if we're doing this by ourselves. If you have a partner spotting you in the back, it makes it a lot easier. But what I did here is I have a band that is doubled around the bar. So basically, I put one end around the bar, wrap it around this hook, and then back around the other end of the bar. And it's set up here where, as you can see, it's going to be hooked just below my knee. That's pretty important right there, that part of it. Go just below your knee. You know, if it's a little bit different, it ain't going to make a big difference. So how I put these on is basically, I do it this way. I'll take this band, wrap it around right here, get it even. I'm going to pull this around my hook. Another option that you can do is you can put your pin up here and hook this band around your pin. This way works good for me, and I'd rather adjust this than adjust my pin. So that's pretty much how the band's going to be set up. Now I'm going to do this without any weight, but I'm also going to discuss that later, where you can add some weight on the bar and the band tension to actually really give you a good exercise, really stress those muscles out. So one of the reasons I like to use a safety squat bar is, first of all, the benefits of the safety squat bar. It's going to try to fold you over, and one of the things we're really working on is keeping that neutral low back, working the brace, working on using the lats to keep the upper back from rounding over, and then driving that back off of the box, so you're shoving your chin into your shoulders. The other benefit, I found doing seated good mornings by myself, setting up the hooks is kind of a pain in the ass, having it where you can get it out easy and get it back easy. If I put a bench in here and I have someone standing on a bench, it's easy, but I train by myself a lot nowadays. So basically what I can do is I can put this up, sit down, pull the bar off, and then when I go back, all I got to do is push it up, which makes it a lot safer and a lot easier. Okay, so when I have the box set up here with my height I'm going to use today, and I'm going to hold the bar up here so I can get under it. I'm going to sit down right here. Now I'm going to get my feet out in front, and depending on how deep your rack is, you want to have that movement in there. So sometimes I'll end up sitting back too far or too far forward, and I'll hit the pin. So I have it set right now where you can see my ankles are about at the front of the rack with a little bit of space right there. So right now you can see the bar's low, but when I pull the handles out, I'm going to pull it up, and hopefully it doesn't mess up my microphone. So the one thing you want to do as soon as you pull on these handles, this is going to want to pull you forward. So you need to get set up, get your root really good, stack those ankles, find that neutral back. And if you have to hunch the back, arch the back, hunch the back, like make sure you find that neutral, and that neutral is not a flat back. The neutral is a natural kyphosis. It's the natural arch in your low back. That's neutral. So right now you can see the bar's pretty low on my back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my feet are rooted. Then I'm going to brace. Then I'm going to pull down on the handles, which lifts it up out of the hooks. Now I'm going to really focus on keeping that brace really good. And I've actually got a little bit more of an angle, like plus 90 degrees right now, doing it this way. Now I'm going to get shoulder blades together, lats pulling, depressing the shoulders down, big brace, holding that neutral back. Right after I brace, I squeeze those spinal erectors. Just like that. And you'll notice, like a lot of you guys with your safety bar, I'll see people pulling it down or people pushing it up. You want to find that position where it sits good, and then you're depressing those lats, squeezing those shoulder blades, and you're going to hold it right here. So as you hinge forward, it's staying right here. This angle in your arms is going to stay right there. Then I can push this up, stand up out of the way. I'm going to get you guys a side angle too. All right, so here's a side angle. Again, I'm going to sit it up here. If you're lucky enough to have a spotter, they can hold it, because once you have weight on here, it's not going to want to sit like this. But without the weight, you guys can see better what's going on. So I'm setting my root, stacking the ankles. I have my neutral low back, pulling my lats down, squeezing my shoulder blades together. Big brace, flex the spinal erectors, pull down. Now here I'm going to make sure lats are down, shoulder blades together. Still got my root, still got my low back arch. Big brace, spinal erectors. I'm really working on having that root set in good. And when I'm driving up, I'm driving my feet into the floor and trying to drive my chin into that bar. So I don't want my back rounding at all. I want to be here, and I want to drive that upper back. I don't want any rounding of my back when I'm driving up. So don't think about trying to drive with your low back first. Think about using your low back to drive your shoulders up first into that bar. So I just went ahead and threw a couple plates on so you can see what it looks like with some weight on there too. Where the weight's not going to affect you so much at the top, but now as the band tension decreases as you bend over, now you're going to have more weight pushing you down too. So I kind of like the combination of band and weight tension. I got a little bit of a balance there. Again, root. Really feel those glutes activate. And actually, just by doing my root, this bar kind of comes up a little bit. Then I've got my neutral back. Make sure my upper back, shoulder blades together. Lats down, big brace. Spinal erectors. Pop the bar down. This is the most difficult part now because it wants to just fall on you. I usually just lean forward. Now I want to show you another version of this same exercise. So it's going to be a seated good morning into a squat. If you haven't watched my video about rocking on the box when you're doing box squats, please go back and watch it. It was one of the newer ones when I first started the channel, so it'll be at the bottom of the list. I hate when guys rock on their box squats. And I've actually had a lot of people tell me box squatting doesn't work for raw lifters, it doesn't work for raw lifters. But when I have them box squat correctly, I've had multiple guys come back and go, I was wrong. Box squats definitely work for raw lifters. But they were rocking all the time, so it didn't work. And just watch the video. I'll explain why I hate rocking. So one of the things I want to do here is I want to teach people how to hinge and to learn where the hinge point is for them. So what we're going to do is we're going to start on the box and with the good morning. But what I want is with the other good mornings, you could see I had greater than a 90-degree angle. On this one, I'm going to come in here and go with a 90. Remember, if you're a narrower, you're probably not going to be able to hit exact 90 unless you're just genetically built as a squatter. You might have a little bit of knees over the foot, but I don't want them to be over the balls of the feet. So I'm going to be here, get my feet at about a 90. Same as everything else. I want to root my feet, stack my ankles, feel those glutes activate. See if I can reach my handles back here. Get my neutral back arch, get my back set. Pull the bar up. Now I'm just going to quickly go through. Is my root good? Yes. Shoulder blades together, shoulders depressed. Neutral back. Okay, big brace. Squeeze those spinal erectors. Always remembering heads in neutral. And then I'm going to do a good morning until I can squat. Then I'm going to come back, make a complete pause right here. Now we're going to start over for the second rep. And I'm going to run through in my head really quickly. Everything's good. Okay. And what I got to do, if I'm not hinging enough, I won't be able to squat back up. So I'm going to go to where I feel like I'm hinged enough. Then I'm going to go a little bit further so I can drive my back really hard off that box. And I'm really focusing on driving that back. Okay, so just to let you guys know, I am sweating my butt off doing that. Like I said, I did did granite over the weekend. I'm kind of working on a low back injury on top of that. It's early in the morning, so my back's kind of stiff. Those actually worked really good. I didn't even go heavy on anything today. And you can see how much I'm sweating. I was breathing heavy. This is a great exercise. I have honestly never used these for a max effort exercise. I use them more as like my first supplemental exercise after my max effort stuff or after my dynamic stuff. So I'm usually looking at 3 to 4 sets, somewhere between 7 and 10 reps. Really, 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 man, I can't tell you guys enough how important intent is, how important technique is, how important it is to focus on every single little movement. I told you multiple times today, I'm making sure I got my root, making sure my ankles are stacked, making sure my glutes are activated, shoulder blades together, pulling them down, neutral low back, big brace, squeeze the spinal erectors, head in neutral. I'm always going over that stuff in my head. I'm always really focusing on that stuff, always trying to get better. You saw, if you picked it up today on some of these examples, my root faded on me a little bit, which is one of the reasons I like these box squats like this, because it actually is much harder to root at the bottom of the squat than the top. So this makes you have to really work hard to get that root, to get that initial drive back up. And with my little low back injury, it's interesting to see just how much this actually works my low back and how it teaches me. So if this is your butt and this is your head, it teaches me to make sure I have a full hinge and then drive up and then go, and then your hips have to come underneath you. But in order for all that to happen, this lower body is the foundation. That root has to be tight as hell. You have to have that intent. Those glutes have to be fired. Those hip flexor, tensor fascia lata, the hamstrings, like all that stuff has to be holding that lower body as stiff and as strong as possible so you can drive that upper back. And then it's like pulling back on a deadlift. Once you hit that little position where you're back, your hips, you trick your hips. They're like, oh shit, we gotta go, man. So it will speed your squat up so much. And it'll let you get that force out of the bottom where the squat isn't such a grind. I think that's about it. Like just really, as if I leave the clip in where I put it in the rack and then it popped off, make sure you bump all the way back into the rack before you take it up. If you have a training partner, that's even better because it makes it easier, but you can do this by yourself. Great exercise. I used to do it without the bands. Adding the bands to it, whole different ball game, works so much better. Just play around with your setup on that. Play around with where your box is. You know, start with some warm-ups on it and get your setup right and then start adding weight. Not everything I tell you is exactly perfect for every single person, but the things that are perfect is the technique, the intent, lifting everything with force. You're not just trying to crank out 8 to 10 reps or 7 to 10 reps. You're trying to crank out 7 to 10 perfect reps. I would rather have you miss a lift being in perfect technique than make a lift out of technique. So remember that when you're training these, intent. Use your brain. Your brain is way more important than your muscles. All right, guys, please check out my Instagram, just Chad Ikes. Go to couragebarbell.com, pick up some apparel, some water bottle, a hat, some stickers. This is one of my newer shirts. I still got to get it up on the store. I'm behind because we started the podcast. So check out the podcast. Courage Barbell Unlimited. It's on Spotify, Libsync. It just went up on Google Podcast. It's on Amazon Music or Amazon Podcast. If you go to my Instagram, all of those will be linked into my link tree in my bio. And that's it, man. Train hard, train smart, man. Let's end this meathead mentality. Train with your brain and make the progress you should be making. Lift the amount of weight you should be lifting. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Have a great day.